Thank you for staying with us here on the AM show. We thank Mapito Sibidi for the AM News. She is on every weekday to present the AM News for us. Benjamin is here with me. We're going to be taking you through the newspapers. We'll touch base with our online portal, myjoyonline.com, and also filling in on what's happening in the international world as well. Ben, shall we begin?
Well, let's dig into them. I shall commence this morning with the Daily Guide newspaper, and it says 30,000 can't vote. That's according to the EC. I found this one very interesting, Mama V, because so according to what the Electoral Commission has been telling us, these 30,000, they either provided some sort of fictitious documentation with regard to their age, with regard to where they live, and all of that. And owing to these, they will not be able to vote. But my concern here is that you only find out on D-Day, December the 7th, when you go to actually vote. That is where you're going to find out that your name has been, taken out of the register. And it just might come with some legal consequences as well. So those 30,000
what you're saying is that the 30,000 can't know. So we're not sure if you're included
exactly.
or I'm included.
I don't know whether my name is in there, whether your name is in there. So it's a bit tricky. But this is the stiffest. I know I'm delving a bit into the story. This is the stiffest penalty that we've seen from an electoral commission, because in subsequent elections as well, you can't vote.
Oh, I thought you can't vote in this December 7 election.
Not just this December 7 election. Subsequently, you're also going to be affected. I don't know whether there's a moratorium or some time limit, but it's to make it more punitive so that people would move away from all of this underage registration.
This is something that we should spend a lot of time on. But we know that the provisional, the register will be given to the political parties, by the way, sometime. But we should be delving into this matter a lot more.
Another Legon lecturer killer in court. Then Ghana, best place for investors search. That's according to Fitch Solutions, the world-acclaimed institution providing insight on many matters. 10.87 million euros in taxes waived for TVET. Nana opens water retrofit, launches 500,000 cook stoves. On the back page of the Daily Guide, we will achieve great success. Kotoko, Brazilian recruit. Now, some people were joking that he's a carpenter from Brazil and they brought him to play for.
Oh, that was
my team, by the way, so I'm not jabbing.
No, wait, but is it a joke or there's some truth in there?
I think it was just a joke. I think it was just a joke. I mean, they wouldn't bring he has to have some skills. SEN rallies support for Lampard. Brothers.
Been a carpenter before too.
Brothers score for opposing sides, and then ISCO caught in the act. You can check out those stories in the Daily Guide newspaper.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times front page. This story in the Daily Guide, also making it on the front page of the Ghanaian Times. On the voter registration exercise, 30,000 disqualified for flouting electoral laws. 400,000 businesses apply for NBSSI in Kosovo support. Burkina Faso committed to Accra Ogwa Railway in... Oh no, I guess that's Ouagadougou then. Interconnectivity projects, according to... they said President Kabori. Okay, that story is on page 13. I guess I have to spend a little bit of time on that. President cut sword for Tema. Siwa Network, a Shaman solid waste plants. Man arrested for stabbing father to death. And this incident happened right here and very close to us in Kotobabi. This man is 29. He stabbed his father, allegedly, who is 52. And he died just as he got to the hospital. And then also his father's wife, but she survived, but she's in a critical condition according to the story. On the back page, President opens housing units for nurses, teachers in Tema, and farmers in the Adan East districts of the Greater Accra region have been urged to embrace the new improved varieties of tomato to increase their production. Full story on the back page of the paper.
I just have a little comment on the back of that young man who stabbed his father and others. One thing we don't pay much attention to in this country: mental health. A lot of people are doing so many things. The mental state of the person is not that good, but we take all of these things for granted until we see disaster. We are a people that is not very proactive.
I was actually looking for more in the story. I thought they would link it to something, but doesn't give any more details. So you actually don't know what the father did or what he was thinking. So yes, greatly, I think the mental health issue that we're not paying attention to. I agree with you.
The Ghanaian publisher Defamation Multimedia. There's this story that I had to look at, the Opuni bit, and it's come up again. I'll just take a little look at that later on the show. But relief for Tema residents as Akufo-Addo cuts sought for work to begin on 3-tier waste treatment plan. MPs okay $125 million for Accra Sanitation and Water Project. And then we'll create more jobs in our next term. That's according to the NPP. Anyway, I will not advertise the person. Yes, I'll not give him a free advert. He paid to the Ghanaian publisher. When it comes to pay to us, we'll give him an advert. So I'll leave
Let's
it there.
do the final front page of the Finder newspaper. Today it says President Akufo-Addo commissions 204 housing units. Will create more jobs, build more factories in our next term. The NPP at its press conference yesterday, addressed by a member of the communications team, Nana Komia. Also, Nana cut sword for 256 million euro, 64-kilometer road, dualization of Asham and Akosombo Road, and more. And then this story, really, Sam Kranchi cautions against violence ahead of elections. He said there was no need for any group of people to take up arms and cause trouble in order to win power, and emphasized that God's hand prevailed in the affairs of men and the selection of the next president was in the hands of God. Can we have some of our prominent people also go back to their communities? So, because we want to send the peace message not just in the church, but also reaching out on the ground. You know, it's become very critical that, all these flashpoints that's been identified by the police, obviously because they don't have the men, we can't be guarding these areas like 24/7. We need all of us to intervene. And so any way that you think you can help and speak to your people, that will be, I guess, help us a lot as we go into this election. I think it's heated. Like the tension is really high.
I mean, really some people out there may not really see it, but as I walked through Odododio yesterday, Jamestown, and you would realize that, Charlie, we're sitting on pins and needles. And I find it very uncomfortable that every 4 years we have to go through this cycle. And I always remind all of us that, look, in Kenya, who would have thought? Who would have thought? But something else, Mama V, very quickly, all of us have, leadership roles, even as media people. People look at us on television. Absolutely. We should be careful what we post on social media. We should be careful what we say out there, because you never know. There's someone who's really looking up to you and thinks, oh, if she thinks it, if he thinks it,
it must be right.
So let's be careful. The Daily Statesman.
Watching the Odododio videos yesterday, because we've had quite a number of videos. And then I said to myself that, there are some of those people throwing things who have no idea why they are even doing it.
They're just doing it because
they're just doing it.
It's being done.
Somebody's doing it, so let me also just do it.
Right, so let's move on to the Daily Statesman. It says, boom, power station retrofit project commission. The Akufo-Addo commissions 204 housing units. My only concern, and because I may not have enough time to get back to the story, I just wanted to run this by all of us. 204 housing units. Guess what? It goes back to the Kufuor administration. Why do I find this problematic? It's a good thing, affordable housing. But it appears even in governance, when we target projects, we target them based on our party and, linkages to our party. In Saglemi, I'll not stop saying this. You have over 1,000 units that are ready. You're going to focus on 204 units. When you have over 1,000 there, if there were corrupt practices involved, what have you done to ensure that the due process is followed so that the ordinary Ghanaian can benefit from Saglemi? I don't know how we think as a country. It just irks me.
So that's why I'm excited about our conversation with the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission, and what they intend doing. Looks like they're also trying to get it legally binding as well, so we can see continuous development projects like because now we've commissioned another one.
Yeah.
We have uncompleted ones.
Another one that come December 7, we don't even know whether it will continue because there's also that need for continuity when it comes to the party. More jobs coming in our next term, MPP assures on the back page. I don't know how the goal was disallowed. Arteta angry as Leicester win at
Are we
Arsenal.
still talking about that? Like,
it's becoming something. And Coleman is also venting his spleen with regard to the VAR.
So what are we saying? Like,
right now, the managers, they are not the friends of VAR.
So could VAR also get it wrong? So now the referee could get it wrong. VAR could also get it wrong.
So here's the thing.
VAR
when it comes to VAR,
gives you an opportunity to take a look at it again.
It's picture perfect. So you get to see. I mean, there are times when the referee back then, he had to use his eyeball or her eyeball. Now you have VAR telling you that maybe even not the entire circumference of the ball crossed the line. You can see it there.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a quarter left, you can see it there. It is.
So what we're saying is
better.
unfair.
It's just made football less fluid. Now, football has become nitpicky. That's the problem. And some people don't like it. We don't like our football.
No, I hated it when they said they were going to introduce, because I thought it was going to slow down the game.
Ah, well.
But I can't believe now that the argument is VAR is unfair.
It will be our idea. Let's move on to some other papers.
Yes, let's do the Daily Dispatch newspaper. 2 candidates representing the Bimbilla constituency making the Daily Dispatch election focus today. And it's two constituencies. The Ayawaso East in the Greater Accra region. But first they talk about Dominic Nitiwu, who's the incumbent member of parliament on the ticket of the NPP, and then his counterpart representing the NDC. Well, there's a focus on the 2 candidates. You can read a lot more about it. President cut short for Shaman solid waste plants. Also another story. I guess it's making rounds in all the papers today. I'll leave it here. Mahama to begin 5-day tour of Greater Accra region today. That's on the back page of the Daily Dispatch. That's interesting because we know the president is touring the Greater Accra region.
Yeah. He's actually completed more or less his tour.
Because he just started over the weekend, didn't he?
Region, and now Mahama is coming in.
Has he completed? Because I think he's still on.
Well, that's the rhetoric we get so far, that he's actually running up. He's actually rounding off in the Greater Accra region.
And then Mahama is coming.
Mahama is now starting.
But see, they're doing this so you
follow
see that.
Follow the leader.
But it's not, even if you look at the president, so he goes to a place, he leaves, and then the vice president follows.
Yeah.
And then I think Samir Uko also goes. And then you find that the general secretary of the party would also follow.
Right.
And then somehow you see the first lady as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would see the vice leave, and then you would see Nana Jane, follow up immediately from the opposing side. So it appears almost as though there were a plan to erode the benefits of the other person.
Absolutely.
This person goes to talk, then this one comes to, do damage control.
Charlie, they haven't been to my area.
Oh.
Yeah. I haven't seen them in Kutunsi.
Your place is a bit far off. But you know what they say about politicians? They will not bring development your way, not all of them. But when it comes to voting, the ballot box will find its way to your constituency, don't you?
Well, part of my place is in the Greater Accra region, so who knows? Maybe former President Mahama will come there.
Hopefully.
I'm waiting.
Right, let's move on to the Daily Graphic newspaper. Roof over our heads, 204 housing units built in 9 months. I'm just wondering whose heads are going to be under these roofs. Parliament okays $125 million sanitation loan. Casa de Ropa aims at value addition, not raw export. That's according to the CEO. This is a conversation we've had time and again. We've spoken about this for forever. Adding value to our raw exports. Where has that landed us 63 years down the line? On the back page, or maybe I should do the center spread before I move on to the back page. Petroleum Commission trains engineers, geoscientists in skills transfer. UK extends 3.34 million Ghana cedi support to local pharmaceutical companies. Peace Council condemns NPP NDC clash, calls for speedy prosecution. That's something I'm very interested in. And then Obechebi Lamte interchange opens in November. You would recall the first phase of the $35 million project consisting of a 2-tier interchange with complementary storm drains and culverts. That's the plan, and that's on the back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Mamavi. Just one more paper for me, basically.
Sure, go ahead.
So evidence-based, some of Mahama's legacies in the central region. That's from the National Enquirer newspaper. It also says, I'll provide opportunities for all Ghanaians. Mahama assures no family and friends. December polls, Jean Mensah disenfranchised 30,000 voters. But is that really the case? Because we know that these people committed certain electoral crimes, if you like. And then explosive, Akufo-Addo daughters caught milking the state dry. Again, you need to take a look at that story because sometimes these things are put out there, but the real wheat, deciphering or distilling the wheat from the chaff. Anyway, those are the papers I have. Shall we dig into them, Mama V?
Yes, I'm just looking at the 30,000 names, 30,000 persons who have been disqualified, who will not take part in the December 7 elections. If you look at the story in detail, it will tell you how the Electoral Commission says it would make the list available on election day. So I guess if you look through the main register and you don't find your name, then you can look at the registers, the other register on the side. And that's when you know that, oh, my name is actually part of the 30,000 that's been disqualified, and so I'm not taking part in the election. They cannot register for some time.
Yeah. So that was actually what, not necessarily vote, but it extends to voting, because if you can't register, you can't even vote. You get it? So they will not be able to register or partake in registration exercises for a while.
Well, interesting. Very interesting. I wish there was a way that people could go online and check with this list so that if your name is not there and you still have to contest it or somehow, you know, then you can do it before election day. It will be very disappointing. Somebody genuinely thought that they had registered duly, and then they go on election day and they can't register. It's
pretty thorny. And there's also the issue of multiple registration that also comes in.
Yeah, so that one, if you did that, then it's your fault.
The circumstances. I mean, there are, owing to the process and all of that, it could be that someone felt he or she hadn't registered and so went again. I mean, there are some circumstances.
If you went to the center and you registered and you felt like your registration was not complete, and so you went to another place to do it, that one, Charlie, is your own wahala.
Well, so that's a bit of a tricky one there. But let me go to this story. Let me start from the Ghanaian Publisher newspaper. On page 3, it says, relief for Tema residents as Akufo-Addo cuts short for work to begin on 3-tier waste treatment plan. This has been a bit of a problem in the Tema area. So I just wanted to take a look at the story. It says, President Nana Akufo-Addo has cut the short for work to begin on the construction of a sewer network and wastewater treatment plant, as well as a solid waste treatment facility at Tema. Once completed, these treatment plants will enhance management of municipal solid and liquid waste in a more environmentally friendly and sustainable manner. It's also important to bring it up because you know how the housing minister has been talking about toilets for every house and this and that. It's a stark situation when you look at sanitation, especially in the capital Accra, at Tema, when you consider the flow of potable water and all of that. So I see it as a step in the right direction, but hopefully it will be a lot more walk than mere talk.
All right. In the Ghanaian Times, there's a story about Burkina Faso committed to Accra Ouagadougou Railway Interconnectivity Projects. So we've received some assurance from the president of Burkina Faso that all the necessary joint preparatory works towards the realization of the project had been completed. So I guess that's good news in the center spread of the Ghanaian Times newspaper.
I'll go to the Daily Graphic, take 2 quick stories, and then it will be a wrap for me. Peace Council condemns NPP-NDC clash, calls for speedy prosecution. And the Peace Council has condemned last Sunday's clash between supporters of the NDC and the NPP. And it said it hoped that the police would expedite action on the matter. I'm intentionally repeating that, and bring those responsible for the incident to book. Now, Mama V, you've seen that gun-toting gentleman who was just firing into the air. Thank God he was even firing into the air. Who knows what could have happened? There were casualties. There were people who were injured in hospital and all of that. And I'm just wondering what is going to happen to them. But
I listened to the Greater Accra PRO speak yesterday. I guess that would be around the afternoon, and she said they had not arrested anybody I'm not sure if the story remained the same by close of day yesterday. They had not arrested anybody. And, you know, I'm just thinking even the guy who was just shooting like that in the air. It's a very uncomfortable situation. And I guess the disappointment is also in the fact that, oh, the police have already listed this area as a hotspot. It's one of their flashpoints.
Yeah.
So to think that an exercise like this was ongoing, and they knew very well the routes, and they didn't put enough men on the streets. But then again, when I listen to Efia Tenge, see, it looks like this thing happened after the main people who were going on the march. Because she explained that, you know, when they get to a certain area, there are people who now come out and see what's happening and decide to join.
Yeah.
So they had men protecting them. Right. But it looks like this happened when they had crossed this area.
Chunk,
so
the main train
had already passed.
Had passed. And then these ones came in, and that fracas, you know, followed. But interestingly for me, Mama V, these people in the community, they know one another.
Oh, yeah, of course they do. They
know who is NPP and who's NDC. And they know who has done this and done what. I'm telling you that if the police were really looking forward to, and I know that they are, but if they wanted to engage the community, they would be able to fish out that gentleman who was shooting. These people we just saw on the screen, smashing and all of that. I was there yesterday. You'd see a 40-inch television screen smashed. If they really wanted to identify them, people in their own community will tell the police, Asamasini.
Well, the problem is we're trying to identify them in party colors. That's the thing.
Well.
We're not looking at them as people who did some wrong.
This is a criminal act. It doesn't matter whether the person is
wrong.
MPP
but if you're looking MPP NDC, then they will definitely not find anybody. We'll be here talking about another situation. Yeah.
Anyway.
All right. You said you had one more. Then we'll do
it's just a headline. So you remember the Justice Wuni bit when it comes to Kennedy Agyapong. The Supreme Court says he was biased towards Kennedy Agyapong.
Okay, we're here. Let's do myjoyonline.com, but we know that he's still at the High Courts.
Oh, yeah. He's not been moved to home. Not yet.
All right. My joy, no, I mean, we haven't heard of any, there's no hint.
I'm just kidding. So, I'm just kidding. Don't get it.
I pray that the Judicial Secretary does not write to you.
Please, I'm not serious about that.
I am distancing myself from Ben. I don't want to go with you. I can't afford to buy a whole page and apologize. Let's do myjoyonline.com. CSOs to go to Supreme Court over Auditor General Daniel Domolovo's forced leave. If you click on the story, it says that a number of civil society organizations, and on Monday they filed a writ at the Supreme Court challenging the June 29 presidential directive for the Auditor General to proceed on involuntary leave. How many days is that? 167. All right, we will pay your rents in our second term. Part of the many other things addressed by the NPP yesterday. So this is Nana Kumia speaking to the youth. Neilante Bannerman calls for arrest of thugs who perpetrated violence at Ododo. Bureau of Public Safety kicks against police protection for MPs. Professor Bennett's murder trial, fresh arrests. Another suspect hospitalized, according to police. And on this issue of Ododo, intelligence and security setup dead, according to security analysts. The disqualified presidential aspirant had ample time to rectify anomalies. The Electoral Commission justifying the disqualification of the 5 aspirants. Akufo-Addo's legal basis for Domolovo leave fatally misplaced. 9 CSOs tell Supreme Court. And then if you missed the Israel Lai story, the household name dictating the pace in media. He's part of our successful 25 anniversary stories. You can check it out on myjoyonline.com.
And very interestingly, just this morning, what he was sharing about, multimedia backing him, on that front where it's between ethics and money. And we chose ethics. That's something very important. But very quickly on Ododo, do you know that since 1992, if you are not a Ghan, you will not get the vote. And both parties, MPP and NDC, have always selected Ghans. In 92, though the MPP did not contest on the parliamentary level, Mr. I think Ishmael Ayite Tete won at the time. So it's always been a Ghan. If you are not a Ghan, Ododo.
For dates. All right, we have to make way for sport. But if you go to the BBC page, you know that with a week before the general elections in the US, they've appointed a Supreme Court judge. And I'm just saying this on the back of the ballots that I shared yesterday. These things happen everywhere, the last minute appointments. Even in the US, they've done it. They should not talk about. Okay, stay with us. Ori Kwampo will bring us sport right after this.